Our responsibility to serve the people of Australia must always be guided by two principles and values that have underpinned my work as the member for Chisholm, those two being love and respect. The establishment of a national redress scheme, which was recommended by the Royal Commission into Institutional Responses to Child Sexual Abuse, is one way Australian governments are working to acknowledge and help people who experience child sexual abuse. I'm proud of the Turnbull government and commend my colleague, the Minister for Social Services, who has painstakingly worked with these survivors, with state and territory governments and, importantly, with the responsible institutions to ensure that the National Redress Scheme for survivors of institutional child sexual abuse will be survivor-focused. Mr Speaker, redress will be made to children who deserve to be safe, but whose lives were shockingly impacted by sexual abuse. As difficult as it is, as a government, as parliamentarians, we have to confront the truth that has been revealed through the Commission process, and as such, the integral National Redress Scheme is part of the crucial healing process. The governments and institutions that have signed up accept the system failed every single person in Australia who suffered sexual abuse in an institution that was actually meant to protect them. We know that redress cannot truly compensate for what has occurred. However, it will acknowledge the hurt and harm suffered by the individuals and ensure institutions take responsibility for the abuse that occurred on their watch by their people. I would like to put on record my very deep respect for the survivors and their families who have suffered the most torrid abuse in these institutions. It is their struggle, their dedication and their bravery which has led us to where we are today. I have the utmost respect for victim advocates like the late Anthony Foster, who I never had the honour to meet, who with his wife Christine represented the immense power of a parent's love. As parents, we unashamedly rise to protect our children, that unconditional love, and the Fosters showed the wholly encompassing and unconditional love we have for our children, and their determined struggle and their fight for their daughters has been truly inspiring. Sadly, the abuse their daughters endured affected members of our community in Chisholm and beyond, and heartbreakingly for the Foster girls, for Anthony, redress has come too late. I hope, however, that for many other victims, the Fosters gave a voice to in Chisholm and beyond, that the National Redress Scheme will assist in healing and will provide some justice for the incredible wrongs they have endured. It is because of the determined advocacy of people that have been so terribly impacted by this issue that our government has been able to implement the National Redress Scheme for institutional child sexual abuse. By sharing their personal stories, these courageous survivors and their families have provided hope that future generations of Australians will be protected from the scourge of child sexual abuse. Mr Speaker, revelations to the Royal Commission into Institutional Responses to Child Sexual Abuse shocked Australians everywhere and highlighted the suffering endured by too many young, innocent, beautiful children, Australians, at the hands of people who are entrusted with their care. I say to survivors, we've heard your story and we will continue to listen. The Turnbull government is undertaking a national consultation process to ensure that the voice and wishes of survivors shapes the national apology to be delivered by the Prime Minister, Mr Malcolm Turnbull, in October this year. For all of us, the safety of Australian children is paramount. What is in the best interests of the Australian child should always remain paramount and stands above all else. We owe it to them to ensure they are protected always. I thank you, Mr Speaker.